good evening, Arsenal, Tottenham, and footballing community. Yes, it is that time, hence the reason why I've got my YouTube Tottenham wife with me. But before we get into it, people, for this North London showdown, going live on both channels. Let's smash the intro for Hotspurs, Holly's Hotspurs, and Albert JTV. We'll be back very shortly. Tottenham, Arsenal, and footballing community. It is that time again. Hashtag North London Derby. Big Ange Postecoglou versus Super Mikel Arteta. Champions League aspirations versus Premier League title aspirations. Holly's Hotspurs meets Albert JTV. Collaboration time. Welcome to the North London Derby preview. And there we have it, people. Believe it or not, it's Wednesday evening at the Albert JTV household and the Holly's Hotspurs household. Now, I should have done it the other way around because obviously it's a reverse fixture. Because I did make a suggestion to Holly when she set up the thumbnail last time when we had the North London Derby at the Emirates. You should have had it the right way around. So the home team versus the away team. But you didn't have that trouble this time because Arsenal the away team. So Holly, we've been reunited for collaboration time. Holly's Hotspurs meets Albert JTV. That's the right way around this time. North London Derby. A few days away. Holly was very excited to do this preview show. A lot more, very excited to the point that Arsenal hadn't even played Chelsea yet. So by the time we do this, this goes out on the audio as well, because it will go on the audio on Spotify and also on, what's the other one again? Apple downloads as well. That's the one. So Holly, we've been reunited. It's, you know, I've always threatened you with divorce papers, but I actually don't really mean it because I actually love you too much. But Holly, welcome back for another joint collaboration. How you been?
Yeah, not too bad. Like I say, it's a shame we can't do more of these. But as you know, my football knowledge is Spurs and that's it. So it's great when the Tottenham Arsenal fixture comes around. So no, it's good to have you back on and, like I say, streaming for both channels.
Holly, now, look, I know you support Tottenham. I know, but I'm not going to let you sell your show short like that because we do collabs outside of Tottenham and Arsenal. So I'm not having that, all right? So I'm going to give you I'll give you a telling off, not live on the air because it's going to sound really bad for audio purposes as well, but I'll do it in private. But it's great to be back with you for obviously quite an interesting game on Sunday afternoon. Moved again for television rights. Never mind. But first, Holly, we're going to introduce, because you're the home team, which is fair enough, I'm going to introduce your first guest.
Well, it's no one better than my good friend Wezzo, man. Wez is in the house. It's great to have you on, Wez. How are you, my friend?
I am very, very well, thank you. Very much looking forward to this. Holly, when you floated the idea around to do this, I was like, yes, get it done. A bit like Aubameyang, sign the thing. So we've managed to get it done and get it sorted. And yeah, I think tonight is going to promise to be a fantastic show for everybody that's going to be watching and listening as well.
Good shot, Wes. Good to see you again, man. It's been too long, man. But it was the time. It's always about timing sometimes in life, but the timing is right. So that's great to get you on. Now, Holly, before you bring in my next fantastic guest, a fellow Gooner, to even things out. I'm feeling a little bit lonely doing this live stream right now. And also, let me point out, we're going live on both channels, people. So smash a like on Holly's Hotspurs and obliterate the like button for Albert JTV, the red half of the North London. But bring in my brother from another mother, Nelson, the fellow Gooner. Bring him in. Nelson!
On this side, there we go.
Yeah, it's well done, Holly. Audio, if you're wondering why we're celebrating and clapping hands and, you know, all that nice stuff, is because Holly's managed to move the right people in the right space so that it's actually the away team versus the home team. So it makes more sense. But Nelson, thank you for joining me and my YouTube Tottenham wife, and obviously Wes. Welcome back, man.
Well, thanks for having me back, Albert. It's good to be back. I mean, when, like Wes pointed out, when, you know, the idea floated around, I was very excited for this. So let's do it. Let's represent the Gooners.
Yeah, 100%. Now, but I've got, obviously, I know we're going live on both channels, but obviously, you know, from my lovely half of the red half of the side, we had a rather quite a difficult game yesterday, Nelson, should I say, to put it politely. But I was at the ground. Spoke to a few Gooners who were a couple of days in and like, you know, it's, I always said with the last sort of 8-9 games of the season, it's crunch time. It's gone past that. It's squeaky bum time now. There's 4 games left now, obviously after yesterday. But what's your sort of thoughts of the game going into it, and obviously the result, the resounding 5-0 home win. And social media's been very enjoyable for the last 24 hours, I must admit.
Oh, he's been very good, very good. I've been enjoying social media, mate. But honestly, heading into the game, I wasn't convinced in a sense because Chelsea's results and fixtures against the top six this season have actually been
good.
pretty good. So that was the one thing that was in the forefront of my mind when approaching this game yesterday. And I was like, Chelsea have just done really well against the top sides, whereas it's the bottom sides where they've been struggling. So I was actually expecting probably a more of a tougher game. I know Pochettino sets up really well against the top six sides, but obviously hearing the news that Cole Palmer was not likely going to play, we realized that Chelsea are actually Cole Palmer FC. So
well said, Nelson. Well said. Pray amen to that.
Yeah. So and then obviously watching the game was a resounding victory. I think the first half she should have had them out of sight, but I think the second half, I think Arteta had a stern team talk, and I don't know what happened, but yeah, we rated them for that 20-minute period. And yeah, I mean, fantasy-wise, Ben White got me some points, so I'm feeling good as well.
Oh, Benny Blanco
in the building. But yeah, it was a resounding victory, so I am happy. And like you said, this is crunch time now, so we just got to win every game that's at hand. So hopefully that continues throughout the rest of the season. But good win overall.
Now, Holly, before you pose your first question, I just want to get your quick thoughts. I don't want to dwell too much about the game yesterday, but I went to the game last season at the Emirates when we played Chelsea. They were terrible. And this was last season, just but in isolation. What I witnessed yesterday, even without Gusto at right back and Carl Palmer playing, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, man. It should have been 8-0, and that's not even an exaggeration. So I was quite surprised, but you know, Kai Havertz scores again, and what did you make of that Arsenal performance yesterday? Coming to my co-host first.
To be honest with you, it got to the point where I thought I want to watch Saints get battered by Leicester, so I turned it over.
That was a good game, by the way. No,
look, the thing is, when you scored within 4 minutes, I was like, oh my word, this is going to be a goal fest, and a goal fest it turned into. And it's just rather annoying because it would have been nice for it to be a tough game for you to come in, obviously, to the North London derby at the weekend, but it's sod's law, isn't it? They decide to roll over for you, and then when we play them next week, it'll be a tough game for us. But no, it was a good win for you guys, as much as that pains me to say it.
Holly, I'm you know what? Because this is why we get on so well. Because even though you support the other half of North London, I can see the pain and the dredge in your face to give us that little smidgen of credit. But Wes, just quickly about yesterday's game, what was your sort of thoughts about it?
Yeah, I think it was, men against boys, really, wasn't it? Really, let's be honest. Obviously, Arsenal coming out the traps, starting quickly, getting that early goal with Trossard. But then actually, I think first half, Chelsea did look like they grew into the half in particular. And then going into half time, you're thinking, okay, could go either way. But then second half, I think Nelson pointed out, Arteta's had a word with them, and you know, you came out really, really strong and almost blew Chelsea away. And it was sort of to the point then where, you know, you're looking at this Chelsea team and it's like, mate, you've spent all this money, yet you are bang average, but pure bang average. And I know a lot of Chelsea fans were sort of saying, why did Pochettino drop Thiago Silva? And it's like, well, the geezer's nearly 40. Expecting him to play two lots of games at you know, such a high level in 3-4 days. At his age, he's not going to be able to do it. But I understand obviously where Chelsea fans are coming from, because for me, you could argue Thiago Silva is one of Chelsea's best players. Yeah. Even at his age. So yeah, no, obviously good job done for you boys. I'm hoping that leads you into a false sense of security now coming into Sunday. But yeah, and I think Holly was right as well. Obviously, you know, Chelsea have only really turned up against us this season, and we had 9 men on the pitch, hardly a centre half. Pretty much had to put our under fives out, I think, at one point. So I think, you know, as Holly said there, next week they're going to turn up, so we've got to be bang at it, not only on Sunday, but then obviously coming into that Chelsea game coming up as well, because obviously they're two massive games, not only for our ambitions, but you know, from a fan point of view as well. They are these are the two games, you know, coming up against Arsenal and Chelsea that we look for in the calendar, and you know, we want to do well in. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, put it that way.
Well said, Wes. And I'm going to pass over to my amazing co-host Holly. Fire your first question in.
Well, I know Nelson was talking obviously the fact that Chelsea had lost Cole Palmer, and for you again, Nelson, going into the game at the weekend, obviously we don't have Adoji anymore. So with that in mind, how do you think Arteta kind of sets up? Do you reckon he's going to go there with the same plan as he normally does, or do you think he'll try and adapt to kind of go down that side because Adoji's not there?
It's a good question, Holly. I think he's gonna. I think one thing I've noticed about Arteta is that he has made up some changes in the last few weeks, bearing in mind we've had a lot of fixtures. And I think you have some people that are irreplaceables in the squad. You've got your back four, Declan Rice, and then Havertz, I've noticed, has played a lot as well, and Odegaard as well. So I think he's going to keep those irreplaceables in there, but kind of make a few tweaks and changes. And maybe, considering that Destiny's out for the game on the weekend, he might look to attack that left side for against you lot. So I'm not too sure how he's going to set up. But I think one thing is certain. I think if he puts a midfield three of Partey, Rice, and Odegaard, I think that could be the key, because last season I remember the game when we won 2-0. Partey was quite instrumental in how we built up play to get the 2 goals. So I hope that works for us in our favour, because I think Arsenal fans really miss the progressional passing that he brings into the squad. Odegaard has a sixth sense when Partey has the ball, in my opinion. He plays so much better, and he finds those pocket of spaces that he knows Partey can play those balls in. So I think that's going to be really deadly if Partey does start. But we'll see what Mikel does for the weekend. I think with Destiny, I think you have to. If it was me, I'd attack down that that left hand side and that Spurs defense. I think that's how you kind of potentially open up the game. So Saka could have a good day, because I remember last game, I think if you checked Destiny's pockets, I think Saka was probably there. So I think you got to give Destiny credit for that. But I think Saka could have a field day potentially, depending on who plays the left back. But we'll have to wait and see.
I think that's the thing, because obviously we know that Destiny's been instrumental, and it was out of the blue that he was going to be injured for this game. But you kind of see in the past performances that he's had, maybe that injury was why that he's out now. But saying that, obviously, Wes, I know Nelson said maybe who are we going to play in that position instead of Destiny? Who would you go for? Would it be Davies, the guards, the old guard, shall I say, or do you try and drag us in there to play alongside Mickey?
No, it's got to be Daddy Davis. I think Ben Davis is one of those players that doesn't get the credit he deserves, because he sort of goes under the radar. He's one of them that just sort of turns up, gets his work done, and then that's it. No frills, no spills, but is quite consistent. And I think actually Davis would do quite a good job in there, and I think he's proven over the years that he is a more than able sort of understudy, and he's a fantastic sort of squad player to have. I think he's one of them that sort of every squad needs. So yeah, I've got no reason why Davis can't do the job. But I think, as Nelson touched on there, obviously Partey last year was instrumental, but then I think I would have been, because nobody wanted to get near him. We literally just sat off him. So I think if you give any player, especially in the Premier League with the quality that it has, that time and space, they're going to hurt you. And yeah, I think the fact that we sat off, I think it was Højbjerg and Sarr that played that game, but it was just so frustrating watching it, because it's like if and when we went at Arsenal, we looked all right and we looked a little bit of a threat, but then we just decided to just sit off them and then just counter them, and it didn't work. And that game last year, I was fuming, because it was literally men versus boys last year, and we didn't turn up at all, and our performance absolutely stunk the place out. So yeah, less of that, please, this season, lads. That would be great. But yeah, no. And to answer your question, I would probably put Daddy Davis in at left back.
I'm talking about other daddies. I'm going to talk about Daddy Longlegs, Albert, because obviously, bar his injury, he's been a great player and for Spurs. Does it kind of worry you that we've got him at the back and they're trying to sniff out all of the danger? You're like, nah, it's fine. It's Arsenal's attack. We'll be all right with Mickey at the back.
Well, how am I going to answer this one, Holly? Do you want the soft version or the hard version?
Could I have the PG version?
Straight Van Damme 18 certificate. No, listen, I like Van de Ven, man. I didn't realize how big he was when he came to the Emirates. I was like, flipping hell, mate. I wouldn't take him on in the fight, flipping hell. But no, I mean, with Arsenal, it's an interesting one, man, because I think we scored over 100 goals now in all competitions, which is just phenomenal. I didn't realize we scored that many. That's not bad for a team that hasn't got a striker. Apparently, we haven't got one, but we need one. That's my own personal opinion. I think your boys. I think defensively, obviously, I don't watch you guys play week in, week out, but your back four better than ours. But you're gonna have your work cut out on Sunday. If Arsenal continue the form they've shown since the winter break, because it's been phenomenal, man. It has been phenomenal. In any other season, we'd be in a stronger position than possibly maybe now. A bit different from last season because obviously we was more of the guys that were leading it and we're kind of chasing it now. But sort of to your question, I guess time will tell us the easiest answer. But I think if as Arsenal fans going into North London derby, we'd be buoyed the fact that we went there last season and won, because that's the first time we won away at Spurs in the league for almost 10 years. And it was a convincing win. And Arsenal were in a good place in terms of there's no injuries at the moment, with the exception of Timber, and even he's come back recently. But I don't think he'll play this season. But Nelson made a good point earlier in terms of sort of our players, and there's a core magnificent seven. I saw the feature on Sky Sports. I watched that about an hour ago. I think 48 games this season. Havertz 47, Declan Rice 47. Ben White 47, Gabriel 46, Saliba 46, and Erdegaard and Saka 44. So those have been the main protagonists this season, whatever way you look at it. So I expect them to go and cause some chaos on Sunday. It's not going to be easy because obviously Tottenham are going to be up for it, and both teams, for different reasons, as mentioned in the intro, have got things to play for. So just throw it back at you, Collie, quickly. Now, I don't normally get a gauge of how you feel going into North London derby. This one, I'll be honest with you, I'm not really sure. Taking into account your guys' recent form, I've looked at your form guide: last 6, 1-3, 2 losses and 1 draw. So, how are your immediate nerves? How are you feeling about this game on Sunday? And be honest, I can tell by your face already.
I know I can't really hide what I'm going to say. I don't know. It's really difficult because obviously, I don't know if you've heard at the moment, everybody's saying Ange's only got one game plan. And if we go to you guys with our game plan, you're going to suss us out. Which I think maybe to an extent could be the case. But I'm also thinking with a North London derby, how cliche as it sounds, it's a totally different game. Form goes out the window, and it is so cliche to say, but it does. And like you said, we're both going to be up for it. I just hope that they do actually turn up, because I thought we were going to be up for the Newcastle game, and that went horribly wrong. So I think the only saving grace is that it's at home for us. The fans are going to get behind them. Hopefully, I'd like to think so. So that being said, we just got to make it hostile for you, because it's not that we've not got as much to play for as you, but I feel like yours is more of a high pressure kind of thing, because if you slip up, that means you've got to make sure you don't slip up again, and especially to lose to us.
We can't slip up. That's
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So in that respect, it's not as if Spurs ain't got a lot to play for, because we could get into Europe, but it's almost like it's your game to lose going into it, if that makes sense.
Oh, I see, taking the pressure off. I see, Holly. Oh, I see. Yeah, I'll see that reverse psychology. We're not falling for it anyway, Holly. Don't even try it, man. Me and Nelson has seen it, man. But no, now fair play, Holly. Fair play, because it's you got 2 games in hand over Villa. Villa are 6 points ahead. So you're gonna need a helping hand. But so coming to West, touching on obviously Big Ange. And I think it's a fair question to ask now, because obviously we've only got 4 games left for the season. Obviously, me and Holly did the stream together. She asking about Big Ange and what the thoughts were in terms of bringing him to Tottenham. But he's been here now. This will be his first full season. What's the positives, firstly, before you lead on to negatives, what you've seen with him at the Realm at Tottenham?
I think positives. Listen, we've got our football club back, really. As fans, we have a team that we actually feel like we can watch and we can enjoy. I think that is the biggest positive. So it's almost like what Ange has done is just connected everybody with the football and the football club together. He's brought the fans on side. He's a manager that wants to be at Tottenham and he wants to do well at Tottenham. So I think from that point of view, we've had it with Conte and Mourinho, and there was, the sort of loaded messages in there, you know, the coded messages that were coming out from press conferences, and Ange is just a breath of fresh air, and he tells it exactly as it is. You know, it's like you are literally going and sitting it with your mates at the pub having the conversations, and he just speaks really, really well. I think, like I say, the brand of football is probably the biggest one. We aim to, not saying it's happened in every game, but we aim to really sort of dominate the ball, and try and take the initiative to teams. So I would probably say we're probably more proactive now as a team, whereas before we were very reactive and reacting on what the opposition were trying to do. So I think that from that point of view, I can't really sort of speak highly enough of Ange, but you know, it's not been perfect. It was never going to be perfect in season one. For me, the biggest thing is probably arguably set pieces, because we concede a hell of a lot, far too many, and the way we concede them, it's just too easy. So I think that for me is something that I would personally change. Switching from zonal to man, I think would be of a bit of a more of a benefit. I would also argue sticking with players a little bit too long. You know, we've seen a big drop in form in the likes of Basuma and Maddison in particular. Yeah, Ange is still trusting them. And I get that you need to, as a player, you need to feel like you've got the support of your manager, but sometimes just take them out the firing line. Like Maddison's been horrendous since he's come back from injury. Basuma's not been at it at all. And then Ange has sort of said recently that he's got a bit of a squad now. Well, use it. Like you have someone in Giovanni Lo Celso who plays for Argentina, and you know, arguably, I'm not sure if he was in the World Cup squad, but you could make a case that he's won the World Cup. Play him. You know, if Maddison isn't all firing on all cylinders, you've got that option. You've even got the option of dropping Kulusevski into the number 10 position, where he flourished in that middle part of the season when Maddison was out. But then, like I say, with Basuma, you know, Højbjerg for me deserves a bit of a chance, because when Højbjerg has come on, he's done really well. I know he's sort of getting the odd sort of few minutes here and there and stuff like that. But for me, Højbjerg's probably best game this season was when he come on against Forest. He completely changed the dynamic of the game and got us a lot more on the front foot. And yeah, we looked a much better team with him in it at that time. I would argue as well, from an Ange's point of view, the way we let teams back into games is a slight concern, because of where we want to get to. We can't afford to do that, because the quality then of the opposition will punish us big time. Like we've had a spell where we blitz teams for 10 minutes, the first 10 minutes, then all of a sudden it's like, right, that's it. The other team calm down a bit when they go, right, we've had this lorry load of attacks and everything else at us, right, now we can start playing, and then they'll go and nick a goal, and then it's sort of chasing the tail a little bit. So but yeah, there's definitely been a lot of positives with Ange. Obviously, yeah, there's going to be a few negatives and a few things that we don't all agree with, but you know, that's life, never mind that being football. So yeah, I think the job that he's done, I think regardless of whether we get Champions League football or not, I think the job that he's done has been absolutely fantastic.
No, well said. I think if he does get his Champions League football, I think he's done amazing. Because obviously, I went on a couple of Tottenham shows, and the fan base were not happy when you appointed him, man. But you know what, he's done well. When sort of coming back to you, Ed, quickly, I'm going to ask Holly as well. Who's he improved in terms of being a better player than maybe not one of his signings or one of his signings? Who's the one that's actually stepped up under his tenure?
I would argue probably the player that I've seen the biggest improvement in is Pedro Porro, because under Conte, when he came in, it was like, okay, sort of a lot of hype. He was like the man that supposedly was wanted by Conte and all of this, and you're there going, okay, so what have we actually bought here? And there was a few sticky performances, but this year I could probably think of maybe Jeremy Doku that's rinsed him. So he has improved a hell of a lot defensively, gives us a lot going forward. The way he can receive the ball, he's comfortable on the ball, can receive it on the half turn, which is vital for obviously the way Ange is wanting to play. So yeah, I think Porro is probably the biggest one. I think we've seen differences in Romero. I don't think he's as rash anymore, contrary to belief. I think he's calmed down a lot. I don't know if that's because he's got Van der Ven alongside him. But Romero has calmed down a lot. I think also having the responsibility of being vice captain has helped him, which is quite strange sometimes because in previous sort of seasons, if there was a bit of a scrap, Romero's first in there. Where actually now he's ushering people out of the way. So it's been an interesting one to see that sort of shift. I think he did sort of give Basuma a lot of love as well, and I think in the first sort of 10 games when we were flying, Basuma was a big part of that. I think he's given a chance now to Pap Sarr, who has just been unbelievable this season. So yeah, I think there's been a lot that Ange has done, and I don't think it's necessarily him out on the training pitch. Sometimes I think he's just, with some of them, he's just put an arm around them, and that's all you need as a player. Sometimes you just need the manager to just put an arm around you, tell you how good you are and what you can achieve, and if you do it, you're going to reap the rewards and reap the benefits of it. So that's probably what I'd say in terms of what Ange has done there.
No, well said. Now, Holly, sort of coming to you quick. Actually, I'm going to save the question. You put your questions now, so I'm going to ask you afterwards.
Okay, put me on the spot now. Hang on, bear with. Obviously, because we've spoken a bit about Ange, Nelson, and obviously the fact that we went out of Europe last week. I thought I'd bring that up just to make myself feel a bit more happier. But with that being said,
watch it, Ollie.
Sorry, say if at the weekend, say disaster happens in the Arsenal camp. For you, what would Arteta need to do to prove to you that he is still the man for this job? Because obviously I know that he's been here a little while now and he has been potentially in the realm of winning things and it still potentially hasn't got over the line. What would you honestly feel if, say, on Sunday it doesn't quite go to plan and then the rest starts to go downhill? What would your kind of thoughts be?
You put me on the spot there. I mean, to answer one of your first questions, I actually think he is the man for the job. I personally wanted him to come before Emery, but many people obviously speculated that it was a bit too early for him to leave City at that point in his career and still probably learn a few things there from Prep. But I really wanted him from the get-go. But obviously it was a blessing in disguise when we had Emery, just got through the cracks. And now he's actually come in. And I actually think he's proven enough to me personally. I only speak for myself. I know I've seen things on Twitter where people have said if Arteta hasn't won something this season and it does go downhill, that, it should be Arteta out. And I just don't understand that because I think he's come in and one of the things that Wes mentioned about Big Ange is that Ange brought in a culture. Same thing Arteta has done. Like he's brought in stability and a culture that I think all the players respect and have actually followed. And he's obviously been able, with the trust from the board, bringing his type of players in, which I think has resulted in his project actually overachieving last season because many people didn't actually believe that we'd actually be fighting for the title. I think we've actually overachieved. And obviously, we were in that title run, and obviously, we just didn't have the experience to get through. And as Wes said, pure bottle jobs. So we've had to learn from that. I think this season, if it does go downhill, I would personally still want him in charge. I wouldn't want anything to change because I think he has definitely set something for the future. I think Arsenal fans can see something. And I'm sure when Albert went to the game yesterday, he could feel a different sense of atmosphere at the Emirates, which we haven't seen from a long time since Wenger's left. And Arteta's also, I think, restored the connection between the fans and the players. So I personally, if it were to go downhill, I would still think he is the man in charge. I don't see any reason for him to leave anytime soon.
Holly, on mute.
I do this every week, honestly.
Holly, I'll just say before you come back in, Holly, for audio purposes, that's not going to work.
Oh, mate. Anyway, what was I even saying? I was saying, obviously, although we're two different clubs, there is a lot of similarities. And like Nelson said, we're kind of, with Spurs, we're kind of starting out that process of what Arteta's done at Arsenal. As much as that pains me to say that, it does kind of feel that same
Holly,
journey.
say that again. Say it again.
No, because you haven't won anything yet, so I don't want to say it's exact. But Albert, I'll come to you because obviously, like Nelson said, are you kind of on the same page that what will be in these closing moments? It's something to build on. Say you don't do it this season, hopefully you don't. Would that be something you'd want to push and see next season with Arteta still at the helm?
Well, according to Jamie Redknapp, we'll win it next season. He said that. He did say that. He said it on Sky Sports Live. He did say that. He did say it. Great question. Let's talk about Mr. Mikel Arteta. It's an interesting one. Nelson's touched on it, man. When we appointed him, like many Arsenal fans, there were some that actually wanted him appointed. I would say more so the second time round when Emery got moved on. But I must admit, when he did the Amazon documentary, there were some funny things in there. That's why I liked him even more, to be honest. But, he looks immaculate on the touchline. That's the first thing. But you know what it is? I think people do forget. It is his first job in management, and to get a first gig as your manager as Arsenal, that's big, man. And he didn't exactly take up the club in a very good position. And there's been a lot of work that's had to be done. The Ozil situation, the Aubameyang situation, moves on the likes of Guendouzi. And it's really interesting in our fan base. I know, Nelson, I know you're not on. I don't think you're on Twitter, are you? It's probably a good thing you're not on there, to be honest. But
no, I am. I see things. I see things all the time.
Well, yeah. It's funny, Holly. Whereas you might have seen it, even though you're not Arsenal fans, but there's some people that will not shift their position on the manager. They just won't.
Yeah.
If we don't win the league this season, they want him sacked. And I jokingly said to a couple of Arsenal fans, I'll tell you what we should do. Sack him before the second leg against Bayern Munich. Let's get rid of him. We'll go by your logic. Just get rid of him. So Arsenal haven't won a league title in more than 20 years, man. It's a long time. Liverpool didn't get the job done. Liverpool hadn't won a league title from the creation of the Premier League before they won it. You have to go back to the old First Division 1. And Holly, that's way before your years. Your mum and dad will tell you, but it's a long time. But yeah, he's done an amazing job. I'll be honest with you. At the start of the season, I thought to myself, get to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, first season back. I actually didn't have Arsenal to win the league, if I'm going to be honest. I said that I was stuck, but I said that quite a while ago. And win a domestic cup. Went out of both domestic cup early. We're like, oh, okay, so that leaves us with the Champions League and the Premier League. And I was in the camp that not necessarily because I want him out or he should leave, but just for his own personal development, to get a trophy of that nature, whether it be in the Champions League or especially the Premier League, to get that on your CV would be humongous. But the problem with football is, as a general thing, narratives change very quickly. So you see what Xabi Alonso done in Leverkusen. Oh, see, he's done it. Arteta, see, he's got no excuses. He's done it in his first season. You can't. It's not as simple as that. It's not as simple as that. But I think if he was to get a Premier League title within the first 4 years of his first job, I think it'd be a phenomenal achievement. And Arsenal are in a good place on and off the pitch. The only thing I would argue against, though, with Arsenal, what they need to do a bit better is moving players on and getting better monetary value. We are lagging so far behind other clubs in the last 10, 15 years. It's laughable. You could count on one hand the amount of players we've sold and got, I would say, good monetary value. And if you're going to go even recent, you look at the sale of Florian Balogun, who had, 2 Premier League appearances, and we sold him for 35 million. We weren't going to get more than that. So we've done well in that. We've done well in that sense. But Mikel's done a fantastic job, man. We had 2 body blow results in terms of the Bayern Munich result and the Villa result, and you're looking at it thinking, as an Arsenal fan, have they got the mettle to bounce back? Because I think all 3 teams look tired. Personally, Liverpool, City, and Arsenal. But City obviously got a stronger depth. But listen, like I said before, it's squeaky bum time, and this is a different Arsenal side. Whether people want to admit it or not, it's a very different Arsenal side. Going by some of the results, 21 clean sheets, Holly, in all competitions, over 100 goals scored in all comps. It's looking good, man. But he needs to get over the line, because people talk about the new contract and they're like, you know what? Okay, this is where you got to deliver now. This is where you have to deliver. I know it's your first job, but you've been there a long time now. You've got your team, your players. You have to deliver silverware. So that's where I'm at.
Right, it's interesting because, again, there are similarities with Spurs and Arsenal there again in terms of not moving players on, because there's so many players at Spurs that have that same sort of thing, that we need to move them on. We just haven't managed to do it. But Wes, I want to kind of bring it back to the weekend before I let Albert ask his questions. And that is, obviously, there's been this big chat about this midfield. And going into this game, it's probably the biggest time we need to kind of shape it up and make sure that we are on our own game. So saying that, Wes, who would you kind of put in that midfield to kind of stop the Arsenal threat?
Højbjerg, Bentancur, Maddison, in that order. I think Højbjerg, listen, I think I've been critical of him a lot in his Tottenham career, and I think loads of Spurs fans have as well. But I think lots of other Spurs fans' criticisms is that he's like, oh, he's a bit of a crab. He doesn't progress the ball well, is this new term. Basically, he doesn't pass forwards often enough. So and stuff like that. But I think for me, as I mentioned earlier, I think from what he's produced, he deserves a starting place, because when he has come on, considering the state of the game that he's coming into, he has done very, very well for us and has actually gave us a lot more control and stability within the game, and within games that he's come on in. So I would personally go for him. Although if he starts hiding, I'll flip a lid, because he has a tendency to do that, Højbjerg, for me. And he's very good at telling everybody to like calm down. And it's like, okay, brilliant, but you do your job, you get on the ball, you get sticking. That's what he's in there to do in that position in front of the back four. It's arguably one of the most important positions in football now, which is why we're seeing, Arsenal spend 100 million on Rice when they could get it at a supermarket for however many pence. Do you know what I mean? So
Half price.
That's exactly that's
half price, mate.
So if he is to play, Højbjerg, he's got to bring his best version of himself. I think Bentancur has to play for me. The experience of big games that he brings, the legs in midfield, and I think before his injury, he was Tottenham's best player, bar none. The Uruguayan Moussa Dembele, as I call him. So I just think he's a brilliant player. He has that capability to do box to box and can link the midfield and knit it together really, really well. And I think Madders, I know I was critical of him, but I think he is that player that can produce something. And you need to have a player that is able to do that. But having said that, if he's having a shocker, just hook him and bring on either Kulusevski or Lo Celso, as I mentioned earlier. We've got those options. But I think Madders is due a goal as well. So, I'd absolutely love it if he got one against this lot. Went up to Bukayo Saka and done his thing. That would be ace. That would be ace.
That would, he would. And I think that's the thing. I think as much as Maddison has deserved a lot of criticism in recent weeks, this is definitely the game that he needs to up it. And I think if he's going to do it, it's got to be this game as well. But I'm going to head over to Albert to give his next question.
Before I say anything, people, the obligatories. We're going live on both Holly's Hotspurs and Albert JTV. Bust up the like button for both channels, people. Don't touch it, just poke it. And obviously subscribe to Albert JTV and Holly's Hotspurs. Actually, let me make this clear now. Because obviously, I even though Holly is obviously supports the club she does, Holly's channel title Holly's channel is in the title, highlighted in blue. I tried to change it to red, but I tried to email YouTube, but they haven't got back to me. I don't think it ever will, to be honest with you, but it happens. And also, her channel link is in the bio. So subscribe, people, if you're watching, obviously, on Holly's channel and my channel. But before I get the obligatories out of the way, Holly, we got to promote the show, man. 127 on the Twitter feed. That's good, man. People,
I can't remember to unmute myself. Let alone do that as well.
Yeah, no, don't do that, because you got to answer the next question. You got to answer the question I'm going to ask you. But Holly, I want to quickly ask you, actually. Speak about a particular player you have, how he's done at Tottenham, and because your fan bases, every fan base has a player how can I put this nicely, talk about a lot, positive or negative. So I'm going to get the guy up on screen, and I'm going to get Wes's opinion quickly before I come to Nelson about an Arsenal player. Brennan Johnson. Is it a hot topic, or what? How's he done at his time at Tottenham, and what's the Tottenham faithful thoughts on him as a whole, as you see?
Well, where do I begin? I personally think he's brilliant. I think what he kind of brings to the side, even if he comes off from the bench, he seems to find the back of the net. I think Wes will disagree with me slightly from a coaching point of view. But I think whenever he's needed to do a job, he's gone out there and he's found the ball in the back of the net. He maybe needs to add a little bit more to his game, which I think Wes will probably describe and explain a little bit better. So I'm going to pass it over to him.
Yeah, Wes. So quickly, Wes, before you answer, I think I checked. Has he got? I think I saw it Premier League wise. Has he got? Is it 6 goals and 5 assists? Is it? I can't remember. I think that.
Yeah,
was
I think he's into double figures in terms of goal contributions.
Cool. Okay.
Unlike some players in North London, on the Red Half in particular. Topic Brennan Johnson. This one is a really interesting topic, not only because I do a lot of football coaching, but I used to be a winger as well when I played. So it's kind of like double bubble. Brennan Johnson, for me, when he first came into the side, really frustrating because it was like his movement wasn't there. He didn't know when to come and show feet. He didn't know when to spin in behind, and you're getting really frustrated. And there was also times when he would sort of face up a fullback and you think, go on, roast him, beat him. And he wouldn't really do it. And you're there like, mate, you've got all this pace. Use it. I probably would assume that you guys had similar in certain aspects when Theo was there with you guys. I know we had it at times with my idol, Aaron Lennon, as well. But yeah, I think sort of in the last couple of months, I would argue Brennan Johnson's contribution to games has been phenomenal. Like as Holly said, he's coming on and he's impacting games now, which is what you want. And I think he's potentially made himself I wouldn't say indispensable, but undroppable because of what he's bringing to the team. Obviously, when he's coming on, he's got those fresh legs, he's got that burst of pace, and I think he's started to use it more now. But I was perhaps expecting just a little bit more, not because he cost us 40 million, because 40 million nowadays doesn't get you much. I mean, look at Chelsea, for example, the amount of money they've spent, and they look bang average. But it was more to do with his actual play that frustrated me in the early part of the season. But like I say, in the last couple of months, he's really turned it around, and yeah, he's getting some good positive love, I would say, from the fans, which I think has been deserved.
Well said. Well, Nelson, let me come to you quickly. We'll talk about one of our players. Someone who has 16 goal contributions in the Premier League. Just want to throw that in there just to remind Wes, how well he's done. But yeah, I'm going to get him up on screen. I'm going to come in. Where's he gone?
I have a feeling. Yeah.
Here we go. Kai Havertz, Cobra Kai, as he's been renamed by some Arsenal fans.
It's not a bad nickname.
It's not. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right, Nelson. It's all right. I was going to say to you, if someone had said to me 3 months ago, he would be in double figures for goals in the Premier League, I think I would have slapped the person who would have said it. But, it doesn't lie. He's been, I think it's 7 goals in 10 Premier League games as well, the last 10 games. What have you made of him, actually? I'm not going to go back to the start. I'm going to say, what have you made of his sort of impact since the turn of the year at Arsenal?
Oh, it's been phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Again, I think obviously because Arsenal fans, I remember I think we've been called, we always get sent like the dead wood of Chelsea players, according to some Chelsea fans. However, I, for one, was probably the minority who actually believed that Kai would have a great season for Arsenal. And I just think it's simple. I think Arteta just having his arm around him and giving him the confidence to make mistakes and actually just be able to play the way he knows that Kai can play. Don't get me wrong, there's still some frustrating moments that come from Kai.
Absolutely.
You were there yesterday. That goal, he could have put us 2-0 up, and I'm thinking, just smash it in the top. Just put it there. And he's just not doing it. And I'm like, I think people have been frustrated because we can see the play in there, and I think it's just the mental switch to have the ruthlessness. Especially when you're playing up top, you need that ruthlessness, which I know Wes and Holly's mate Harry has, and he's done it time and time again for like
He's
countless
great.
seasons. And I think Kai just needs that in his game. But since the turn of years, you mentioned Albert, I think he's been phenomenal. I think he's really impacted games. I think his link-up play has been great. I think his best position for us has actually been up top in the middle. Which completely made me forget that we actually had Gabby Jesus in the squad for a while. And that's credit to Kai. And I think he's taken on the role really well. I think there are still some elements of his game that he can still do better. I think his dribbling, he actually is deceptively quick, in my opinion, as well. Very tall. He is deceptively quick, but I think he needs to have more confidence when taking people on. I think he's got that in him, because I was a really big fan of him at Leverkusen, and we're seeing that with Florian Wirtz as well, like a young player coming through at Leverkusen. I think Kai just had that fearlessness in him, and I think he's lost it quite a bit. But I think with Arteta's kind of arm around and giving him that confidence, I think slowly he'll get back to that kind of ruthlessness. But he's been phenomenal. I think hopefully this Sunday he bags a few. I think the celebration yesterday against Chelsea really put a smile to my face. I think he's really he's forgotten his time now. Really beautiful. I think just to have that celebration, I think, has shown that he's grown. And the players as well. I think one thing I want to point out is the players really like him too. Like, for them to give him the penalty for his first goal against Bournemouth shows how the players value him in that squad. So I want to put that out there as well. But he's been phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
No, well said. It because obviously I don't think rival fans were even doing it as banter, or the Chelsea ones were anyway, because it's saying, "Well, thank God you're taking him off of us." But I saw they were seething when I looked on the socials yesterday. How dare he score 2 goals? Did you see the finish, Holly? Did you see the finishes? Unbelievable finishes.
I was too busy watching Saints get smashed. So.
But no, listen. One thing I said with Kai Havertz is, I think the issue was with him. Obviously, the whole Chelsea thing, as Nelson's mentioned, but I think because he's obviously had time in England, people are like, I don't really get this signing. But obviously, you know, Arteta's seen it with bringing David Raya to Arsenal. That's been a long-term thing. He's always admired him. Bringing Kai to Arsenal, people were like, where's he going to play? That's the first thing. Obviously, midfield for me is not. He's got to play the false 9 role. But phenomenal. I always said it. Goals change games, but goals also elevate a player in terms of being in the media spotlight. And like I said, 16 goal contributions in his first season at Arsenal. No one would have said that 3-4 months ago. They would have said, you've got to be having a flaming laugh. That's what they would have said. I was going to say something else, but I don't want to get in trouble on YouTube and myself. But no, he's been a phenomenal turnaround. But I want to quickly come to Wes about one of our players before Holly comes in with another question. So I want to get someone else's opinion about him. We've called him many things, this guy. Now he's got many nicknames. Benny Blanco. Benjamin White's the right name. Whereas now I watched an Arsenal podcast on Hybrid Squad. Big up Sophie Nicolau. And she had Henry Winter on there, who's, if people don't know, he's a very well-respected Henry Winter. And he's obviously asked out Ben White by some of the Arsenal fans in the chat. And he did say he's been that good this season, he's one of the best fullbacks in Europe. I said, wow, that's quite high praise from someone who actually doesn't have any affiliation with Arsenal. Let me make that clear. I don't know who Henry Winter supports, but that's pretty high praise. Whereas he's been, it's funny because when we signed him, the way the Arsenal fans are carrying on this, because he was linked with us during the Euros in this country, with the men's Euros. He's and one Arsenal fan. I'll always say this. I don't care because if they think I'm talking about them, I am talking about them because they said it. I didn't make it up. Are we just signing another Rob Holding? Those are the words from an Arsenal fan said that. And I said, well, okay. One thing I don't do is make an opinion about a player that I don't know. But with Ben White, it's an exception. Excellent leads on loan. Played at Brighton in the back 3, right side of the back 3. Comes to Arsenal, plays as a centre back. Second season moves to fullback. Since the turn of the year, he's been absolutely phenomenal. Actually, what I would say about him as well is, for the way he plays, he should get more goals in the Arsenal side. And you got to brace yourself. But what have you made of him, Wes? Sort of from your eye line.
Yeah, he's Rob Holding with a dodgy fake tan, isn't he? Really. But no, I think to be serious about it, Ben White, I think since he moved to Arsenal, I think when he made the move, everybody was like, right, okay, good signing, the right time, obviously the right sort of step for his career. It felt like he'd outgrown sort of playing for Brighton. No disrespect to Brighton, but
Yeah,
you know, there's obviously a ladder and a ceiling, I think, with certain players, and they feel like they need that next step along their journey, and that was certainly the case with Ben White. And you know, like you said, he's shown a lot of flexibility as well. I think he was even playing in midfield for Leeds, but that's a Bielsa thing anyway. So you know, he's had Stuart Dallas playing left back, and Stuart Dallas was a quality right winger in the Championship. So yeah, I think he's done really well. Best right back in Europe is an interesting shout.
That's from Henry Winter, by the way. That's from Henry Winter.
It's an interesting shout because Kyle Walker still exists. Carvajal has been still fairly decent at Real Madrid. Jeremy Frimpong, I know he's sort of been playing wing back, but you know his position by trade is a right back. So you know Frimpong's had a worldy season. So I know this whole sort of England thing, I think that's what probably sours the opinion of a lot of people, is this whole England thing. With Ben White. I think, you know, if there wasn't any issues, he would be in the England squad. Let's make no bones about that. You could argue he'd probably be playing as well alongside John Stones in the back four and playing as a centre half. But he was somebody that I did like at Leeds and at Brighton. So yeah, it was unfortunate when he joined you lot.
Very fortunate, Wes.
Very unfortunate. And it's even more unfortunate that he's coming good. And I think now he's sort of made that right back spot his own at Arsenal, and you know he's now starting to contribute at the other end of the pitch. I think nobody sort of questioned him defensively. It was like more of what can he do going forwards, sort of centre backs, filling in at sort of. It was more filling in at right back. But like I say, now you just see sort of Ben White as a right back, and yeah, he's now, like I say, he's supporting play really well, getting some important goals, and you know, like I say, contributing at the top end of the pitch, and you can't really ask for any more than that. And I think what's been even more interesting from his point of view is the tactical tweaks that Arsenal have made this year compared to last year, especially in the build-up. He was a lot more tucked in last year, whereas now he seems to have that freedom to play slightly, or just sort of go and you know, play a lot higher up the pitch. So from that point of view, tactically, he's had to be astute and be really aware. And I think he's still at a good age in which he can do that. So yeah, it's just unfortunate he plays for you lot, but his fake tan is absolutely abysmal. His fake tan is absolutely abysmal. So yeah, he needs another 15-minute holiday.
I saw that clip. He got it at Wolves, but he just turned around and started to pull them. So good on him. But no, it's interesting because Nelson will know this. Like our fans, like, I would say when we signed Ben White, some of the stuff he's hearing is unbelievable. Erdegaard, believe it or not, it just I don't know. It's like
Ramsdale.
I think some of the Arsenal fans, what it is, I think it depends on how old you are. Let's say my age, for example, and maybe even a bit older. The old Kenny came up by me saying that is what we've seen of past Arsenal players. Everyone gets measured up to them. Every single player walks through the door. English player, foreign player, and I'm like, you can't do that, man. Like, I see people doing boxing with AJ, like, Mike Tyson, all them guys would have had him. I'm like, you can't make that comparison, man. That's just not. You can't do that. But yeah, it's crazy. Some of our fans, like, yeah, well, fair enough, have an opinion, but let a man put on the shirt first, man. Seriously, particularly when you've been playing in the Premier League, for goodness sake. But that's interesting. But let me come to my amazing co-host Holly. We're going to wrap up soon anyway because we're going to get score predictions. But go on, Holly, far away.
Because I know we've spoken about obviously players making the move from Chelsea, and obviously I know that he hasn't come from Chelsea, but he previously played for Chelsea. And Nelson, I kind of want to get your thoughts on Timo Werner, because obviously we've got him on a loan deal at the moment, and I think it's another comparison that kind of fans make, that he didn't really do it at Chelsea, he can't really do it at Spurs. Although, what would you kind of make of what he's done for Tottenham since he's joined in January?
If I'm being really honest, I don't think Tottenham fans expect him to set the world alight when he came, in January. But I actually think by his standards, considering he went back to Leipzig, I think he did okay actually when he went back. I don't think he's actually done too well, in my opinion. But obviously, I'm in the same boat as Albert in the sense that I haven't watched a lot of games to make that judgment. But at the same time, I think there has been some key moments where he's missed a lot of key chances in games for you guys. And I think that's really it's potentially cost you. Obviously, who knows come the end of the season, but it's been really big chances. I think he does continue to put in effort. I think one thing I've noticed that he does work. He runs and he works. And obviously, I think I don't know if Ange is still trying to work out how to best utilize him, considering that it's obviously just a loan. But in my opinion, like I don't think he's done too well, considering that Brennan Johnson's now, like, as Wes mentioned, since the turn of the year has actually done some like really impacted games really well. I just don't think Timo has done too much. I think his time at Chelsea was dreadful, in my opinion. I don't think that went well when he came. And I mean, if you guys are looking to finish in that fourth spot, I think between now and the end of the season, you're going to need someone like Timo to step up and actually take authority. Take authority. But so far, I don't think he's done or set the world alight being there since his loan move.
No, I think that's the thing. I think there's a lot of Spurs fans. Well, there is a lot of Spurs fans that are kind of in two minds, because Wes, the money that would be if we cash him in at the end of the year is a no-brainer. But it's also like, if we want to push for more, like Nelson said, is Timo really the man for us?
Can we not just keep him for the song? Is that an option? No.
No.
Timo. Yeah, I don't think he's it. I'm gonna throw it out. I don't think he's it, and that's unfortunate because I think when he came, everybody wanted him to do well, like so well, and we were pretty much like gunning for this guy to do so well, but it just hasn't happened. Like as Nelson mentioned there, big moments, within games, easy chances that he just misses, and you're thinking, okay, I can see why. You can see why Chelsea bought him, because there are flashes of, and you go, oh yeah, go on then. But then you can also see why Chelsea got rid when they did, and it was pretty quick as well. I think Chelsea were kind of expecting him to be this sort of predator, this like, ruthless killer, like in and around the box. And, it's never been, I don't think he's ever been that as a player. I think his best work at Leipzig was done in the front two, where he had the license to kind of roam off of a big target man. And then I think when he came in at Chelsea, was he through the middle? It didn't quite work out right. We'll play him off the left. Well, that didn't quite work out either. So yeah, but I think, like you said there, the money, if we were to sign him, I think if anybody put that on the table, it's a no-brainer. But then when you actually watch him, you're there going, I don't know. And I think sometimes when you're that unsure of a player at the age that he is, I don't think you sign him personally, which is a shame because, like I say, he's got one of the best chances in the league. So can we not just keep him for that? That would be awesome.
It would be. It is a banger, to be fair. And talking about bangers, obviously, I know that I've mentioned players that have been a bit hit and miss this season, but there's going to be one man that I'd probably put my money on to score in an North London derby, and that is Sonny. So I'm really hopeful that Sonny does do the business, because as we know, this season he's broken another record with the most goals for Spurs. So it just kind of shows that he is on a massive form. But hopefully he can bang some goals in at the weekend, because that would be lovely jubbly.
We need to talk about Nelson's love affair with Heung-min Son as well.
I knew it. I knew you were going to bring up Wes. I mean, I have a big love affair for Sonny. I think he's a tremendous player and a really humble person. I think that's one thing I noticed when doing more of it. Like when I first knew about him in the Bundesliga, I did some research, like in terms of like how he became the player who he is today. Just his humility, like, is something that really impresses me as a player, the intangibles. So that's why, I still have this love affair. Wes knows. So yeah, I don't think it's going to stop.
No, it's a better love story than Twilight for people that don't know, to be honest. But yeah, I think, listen, if Spurs are to do kind of anything on Sunday, then Sonny's going to have to play a key part and a key role in the game. I think when he steps up, You notice that Maddison then wants to step up, and I think there's probably Kulusevski then wants to, so he brings other people sort of with him in the way that he does that. I think he's a guy that leads by example, so I don't necessarily see him being a shouter and a screamer, in the training ground or anything like that, or he's not going to put somebody in row Z. That's not his game. But what he will do is say, like, right, I think if I look back at the Forest game earlier on in the season, when he's closing down, the ex-Arsenal goalkeeper Matt Turner, who then had a bit of a shocker. You could see then, like, right, if Sonny's doing it, then I've got to go. And then you saw obviously a few other players then sort of follow his lead. So yeah, I think he's probably the one that we're looking to for a bit of inspiration, I think, as well as probably Maddison, but I'd probably argue Sonny a bit more than Madders. And yeah, he loves a goal against the Gooners. I remember the one in COVID, like the sort of lockdown one where there was limited fans, and that was just an absolute screamer. I was fortunate enough to be at that game, and yeah, it was pretty much right behind it all the way. When Partey limped off because he's about 50 and now he's got like one hamstring, and Arteta tried to push him back on, and yeah, Sonny is just whipping one in the top corner. So yeah, like I say, Sonny's going to have to be on it on Sunday, I think, if we're to get anything out of it.
Well, Wes, coming in nicely off the back of that, someone who's definitely had a screamer last season at the stadium. Welcome to my guy Nelson. Actually, for the first time yesterday, Arsenal fans got to see Rice, Ødegaard, and Partey. First time there's a trio. And coming to one particular player, young boy looks, our main man, Captain Ødegaard, Norway's finest. Nelson, right, so how can I put this question to you? Actually, it's not really a difficult question. This guy's passing ability and to see a pass is not just yesterday. If you look at a lot of his games this season, it's been absolutely phenomenal. Some of it, I mean, the pass for Havertz's first goal. I mean, for goodness sake, man! I was like, I did an encore, stood up.
Yeah,
that's before the ball went in the back of the net. But yeah, he's been amazing. I think he's got. Gonna come to you in thoughts in terms of what's he got stats wise. I'm gonna have a quick look. He has 8 Premier League goals, 8 assists, 2 goals in the Champions League and EFL Cup. So he's got 16, about almost just shy of 20 goal contributions, just shy this season, which is actually for his standards is a little bit down. But again, like I said, where's Nelson? Sorry, what's your thoughts on Martin Ødegaard, man? How pivotal was he going to be on Sunday?
Oh, he's going to be key. That's the main man there.
Yeah,
Captain Fantastic, my guy. Since he's been. I love Ødegaard. I think this notion that he disappears in big games.
Yeah, that's
annoys me.
Yeah.
It really annoys me, and I think that's just Arsenal fans just not seeing the game.
Oh.
I heard a quote the other day. I heard a quote the other day that said that stats are like bikinis, and I didn't understand what that meant. Yeah. And it meant, but then that person explained it and said that stats, what they show you, is interesting, but what they don't show you is also very, very interesting. So, like, in a sense that the stats from this season show that our Ødegaard's numbers have gone down, but if you actually watch the game closely,
exactly,
he's still so pivotal to how we build up play. And these passes that I know that you're mentioning, that's why I get annoyed, like, in terms of, the chances that we have and we don't put them away, because he's setting up some amazing
delicious chances.
Like, you probably were there yesterday where, he made that reverse pass to Havertz.
Oh,
and you're just thinking, oh my goodness. And I've really enjoyed I think he's had more of sort of like an influence in how we build up. I think last season he's really took on a step when he was like, producing goals and actually getting the goals. I think that was one thing people criticized about his game, like just the lack of goals. He's done that now. He's shown that. So as fans, we can rely that he can, bring a goal for us. But he's Captain Fantastic. I think his leadership as well, that young as a captain, is very important to our squad and how we kind of build as a team. So I think if we're going to win, or if we're going to have any sort of chance in the game, he is going to be that key player. He's that guy. He's that magnet. So we'll see. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it's mad because even like obviously you guys are Tottenham fans, but some of the stuff he gets from our fan base is actually last 2 years definitely. It's crazy. They would, we take this player over him. I'm like, oh yeah, but he didn't do this at Madrid. He went there when he's like he was a schoolboy. I just break into a team like Madrid and just boss it. It's crazy, and the work off the ball, he leads that press. He is phenomenal. I'd love to know what kilometers this guy covers because, yeah, I'm glad we got him, man. Listen, he brings different qualities in terms of leadership, and he's going to be pivotal. And hopefully, he puts in a performance like he did last season at their stadium, which we covered very, very nicely. Hopefully, no idiots will come out of the stands and try and kick people. We don't want that happening again, anyway.
Listen, that guy was our best player that day. Honestly. Honestly, he was our best player. That geezer. Obviously, not condoning what he did.
Of course.
I mean, if he makes better contact, obviously, then you know. But yeah, he was our best player last year. That's how bad we were last year.
Oh dear. But no, people in the chat, thank you for tuning in. Obviously, guys will watch this back when they do on Holly's channel and my channel, and I will put it on the audio so you can hear us laughing, joking, criticizing, praise both sets of teams, and maybe even some and obviously talk about the managers as well. But people smash the like button for Holly's Hotspurs and Albert JTV. Get them algorithms going right through the roof on YouTube, man. Don't waste your time. But obviously follow my amazing guests as well on Twitter. Well, I've got Nelson's Instagram handle down on the bottom of the screen, and also where's his Twitter handle down on the bottom of the screen as well. But let's wrap up now. Score prediction time. Now I'm going to leave my YouTube Tottenham wife till last. I'm going to come to Wes first, actually.
I was actually thinking about this, and obviously because it's Derby week, you think about it not only like you know the day of, it's like the week. Obviously, we've had an extra week to really kind of think about it because we've not had a game. And yeah, I think my score prediction probably changed about 3 times, so this will be fun. So I've got to back my team because it's Derby day. I think we might sneak it 2-1. 2-1.
Oh, see. Well, I'd like to see you try and break through our great wall of Arsenal defense, man. So, but no, fair play. You got to back your team. I get it. Yeah. I do get it.
Brazil's number 9, Pombo, is gonna pigeon dance in front of the away fans once he's bagged the header. So yeah, that's what I'm going for.
No, fair play. Let me come to Nelson. Actually,
I've already got my score in my head. I'm gonna go for, obviously got to back my guys, got to back the G's them. I'm gonna go for 4-2 to Arsenal. 4-2. I know Holly and Wes are like shaking their heads.
They're like, oh God.
I actually think this is gonna be a high scoring affair. It just seems like that every time with the North London derby, which I think underratedly is probably one of the top 3 derbies in the UK.
100%.
But yeah, I'm gonna go for a 4-2 prediction. That's my prediction.
Wow. I did say I'm gonna leave Holly last. So I said this I'm sure Nelson agree with me. Arsenal have to pick the same team that played yesterday. No question. Tommy flipping Yasu. Warrior at left back. That team has got to start on Sunday. No excuses. Trossard deserves a start. And yes, I get the super sub thing, and I mean, to hit the numbers he's got from not starting, to hit the numbers he's had, Trossard, and he doesn't regular start, is insane. Best finisher at the club by a country mile.
Agreed.
But oh God, because I said this about Arsenal when we had the 3 big games left: City away, Tottenham away, United away. Arsenal have to win 2 out of 3 of those if they're going to win the league. 2 out of 3, and it's going to have to be OT and Tottenham Stadium. I'm going to go for Arsenal 2-0. 2-0. Absolutely. Pick that same team. We win that game. 100%. Holly, the floor is yours. We'll close the show. You've had everyone's predictions. What are you saying?
Thanks. I'm going to go 3-2 Spurs because I've got to back my team. I do agree with Nelson. I think it's going to be high scoring, but high scoring for us as well. So I'm going 3-2. Put the right spanner in the works.
Right, Holly, I just realised I was tempted to boot you out of the chat, but obviously I can't do that because you're the co-host. And that would look really unprofessional, really bad. But yeah, listen, the way Ange has got you playing this season, and the way we play and kind of tweaked it, as been mentioned before, tactically. It can't be 0-0, man. It can't be. And we can't afford that. We have to. Arsenal in a position where we can't drop any more points. That Villa game was a kick in the goalies. Cannot happen. Arsenal have to go there and win. I do think City will drop points, by the way, but I just don't know if Liverpool and Arsenal are going to win all those games. But we'll see. But yeah, Holly's gone for 3-2. Wes has gone for 2-1. Nelson's gone for 4-2. And I've gone for 2-0. Oh, interesting. People, when you watch this back, drop in the comments. Keep it clean if you can. If you can't, then that's just YouTube. We'll deal with it. Me and Holly will deal with it. But on a big up, Wes and Nelson for coming on. Wes, where can the people find you, my friend? Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, pleasure. Nice to see you again, Uncle Albert. It has been a minute, that is for sure. Twitter is at Wes010, the unofficial Moussa Dembele fan account. So yeah, usually tweeting things about the best Belgian that graced the Premier League. So yeah, that's that one. Listen, everyone that's played with or against Moussa Dembele says he's the best player they've played against. So I'm taking that to my grave with me. So Instagram is at Wes032, usually at a Spurs game. I'm there on Sunday. Very much looking forward to it. It's my dad's birthday weekend as well. So yeah, again, looking forward to that one. And then at Kofa, MK or Kickoff Football Academy for all my football coaching stuff that I do in the Milton Keynes area. That's Dele Alli country for anybody that doesn't know where it is. And then Albert, you're not going to believe this, right? Holly bullied me into doing some like football content stuff, like little videos and things like that. So yeah, she basically, like I said, she bullied me into it. So at WM32 Football on Instagram and TikTok for some topical football stuff.
Go on, Wes. Holly, I will have words with you later when the stream's finished, so we'll talk. But now, big up Wes. People, go and follow Wes on all your socials there. Nelson, welcome back to the show, man. Great to get you on, my fellow gooner, fellow brother. Tell the people where they can find you, man.
Oh, thank you for having me, Uncle. They can find me on Instagram at ntumba25, and you can guarantee if we win, I'm gonna play the famous Ghanaian song in celebration of Party. Oh, Party. Party. I'm ready. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram at ntumba25.
No, well said. Yeah, Party was instrumental yesterday, man. Big change. But of course, last but not least, my YouTube Tottenham wife, Holly Agambar. Right, that's the co-host with you again. We've got plans for the men's Euros, of course, and we'll go to some Pompey games next season. Preferably not the Millwall one because that would be a bit dangerous. But we never. But funny enough, Tom White's missus is massive Portsmouth fan, and he actually told the story on the Sky Sports. He said she's driving him mad, absolutely bonkers. But yeah, they're coming up next season, man. Fair play to Pompey. But Holly, where can the people find you? Obviously,
they can find me at Holly's Hotspurs and then Holly Agambar across everything, basically. So you can find me there. But honestly, Albert, I love doing these shows. A, because you're an amazing host, and B, you never put me on the spot to try and come up with something because you always let me know in the chat that it's my turn next. So thank you very much.
Of course, man. Of course, man. As much as it's important to see, I would never throw you under the bus, man. I would never send you them divorce papers. And big up Kerry in the chat, which he came in earlier, doing great work, photography work. Bloody hell, next bloody hell, Kerry doing bits, man. But as of course, your other co-host, Albert JTV people. I'll be doing a live watch along for the game on Sunday. That should be entertaining. I always say to people when I do live watch alongs, the proper South East London comes out in me, man. As you might have seen with some of the clips I put out this season. Yeah, it's been an emotional one, man. Big up Lee Judges for letting me do that on the channel as well. But yeah, people, subscribe to Albert JTV and subscribe to Holly's Hotspurs. I will find it in. Has Holly done it?
That's the wrong first.
Oh my god. Holly, you cannot be muting the co-host. That is ridiculous. We're doing an outro.
I need to go to bed, I think.
Oh my god, this woman. I was there giving you nice praise and give you compliments. You go and do that hatchet job you just done at the end. What are you doing? But no, people, we are done. Big up to the people watching on YouTube and also on the Twitter feed. Three figures, Holly. Not bad, man. Not bad at all. Watching there. So people, thank you for retweeting and sharing. But people, we are over and out for another North London Derby collaboration titled North London Derby Showdown from the YouTube Tottenham Wife. People, We are over and out. Come on, you Spurs. Come on, you Gunners.